Bluey is one of the favorite cartoons of today, but have you noticed that some offenses have already been committed by some of the characters in the series and nothing has been done about it? One of these characters who could very well be framed for a series of charges is the small but dangerous Bingo Healer. At just 6 years old and barely over 90 centimeters tall, Little Red Healer may have a much longer rap sheet than her innocent eyes might suggest. That's because despite not even being old enough to sit in the front seat of a car, the little pup has already committed the act of, believe it or not, assault. This happened in the episode Magic Xylophone, where Bingo and Chilli pretend to be a pair of lions, and Lucky's dad, Pat, is caught off guard and almost literally dragged by the legs while mother and father bite his legs. Just this assault offense would be enough to land Bingo a fine ranging from $500 to $1,000, as the assault would be considered minor. Luckily for the Healer family, Pat didn't press charges. In fact, Bingo couldn't even pay, since she's only 4 years old. Her accomplice, I mean mother, would be the one ending up with the fine for both. But the lesson here is, never doubt the mischief of someone with an innocent look like Bingo's. Now, imagine if other Bluey characters were fined for their offenses just like Bluey. Chilli. It really seems that Bingo isn't just physically similar to her mother, but also in the habit of committing petty crimes. That's because our dear Chilli, who actually works in the airport security system in Brisbane, has done something that could be worth noting. In the episode where the family goes on a road trip, they end up needing to stop at a gas station because of a truck full of cows splatters their windshield. At that moment, Chilli checks out the sunglasses available at the gas station and tries a pair on. But the caravan of nomads, who are elderly people in their motorhomes, ends up making Bandit need to leave in a hurry, so he quickly pulls the kids and Chilli into the car. And we can see that Chilli was holding the card to make the payment at that moment. So it's not very clear if Chilli actually had time to pay for the sunglasses, but regardless, she leaves the gas station with them on. If the police prove that the payment wasn't actually made, we can say that Chilli ended up committing theft. And if that's true, Mama Healer would have to reimburse the store an impressive $7 and could even receive a verbal warning or be forced to do community service. Shame on you, Chilli, but between us, I think she managed to pay. So if you believe that Bluey's mom hasn't committed any crimes either, comment below, #innocent. Judo. I think it's already clear to all of us that most of the offenders in this video are indeed children under 6 years old, which is exactly why Bluey's neighbor and friend Judo is also on our list. In the episode Butterfly, we see that little Chow Chow ends up persuading Bluey to leave her little sister in the middle of their game, which was a terrible thing to do. It's okay that she regretted it later, but that doesn't change the fact that a crime was committed: child abandonment. After all, Bingo is only 4 years old and cannot be left alone without the supervision of an older person. Sure, the age difference between Bluey and Judo and the youngest Healer is only 2 years, but we can say that the two older girls know how to take care of themselves much better, even though they are still children. So, if taken seriously, the fact that Judo did this and even induced Bluey to do the same thing would result in a fine of $750. And as we mentioned earlier, it would be Judo's mom, Wendy, who would have to end up paying this amount for Judo's offense. I think she'd be really annoyed when she found out. Judo, Bluey, and Bingo. After abandoning Bingo, Judo regrets it and apologizes. So the three friends decide that maybe it's a good idea to get together to commit a crime together this time. The plan would be to attack some poor innocent person and scare them just for the thrill of mischief. And the victim who ends up being attacked by the little criminal group is poor Bandit, who was walking peacefully towards his sweet home. The blue dog had no idea what awaited him. Suddenly, he was attacked, for no reason at all, by the three little dogs simultaneously, which surely caused a tremendous scare. Plus, he dropped his laundry for the third time in this episode. So here we clearly have a small criminal organization, which in itself constitutes a crime, in addition to the attack on the physical integrity of others, even though we know that nothing serious happened to Bandit afterward. All these offenses together would result in a small sentence for the group of little dogs, which could add up to, believe it or not, fines of $500 each, totaling $1,500, plus the confiscation of assets of the involved criminals, which would mean that all the toys and plushies of the three little dogs would have to be collected by the justice and auctioned to reimburse the person who was attacked for their damaged clothes. The problem is that in the end, the money would come out of Bandit's pocket and go back to him, since he was the one who bought the toys. Bandit. But the truth is, Bandit himself is no saint, and also has his debt to society that needs to be resolved. At times, we see Bandit being neglectful with his daughters, which makes us a bit wary, but what really can't be overlooked is the moment when Blue Healer hurts his own daughter. This incident occurs in the Yoga Ball episode, where we see Bluey's dad getting a bit carried away with the force used during fun moments with Bluey and Bingo. And precisely because of that, Bingo ends up feeling so bad and sad that she hides under the backyard tree to cry alone. So, after causing pain and suffering to a little innocent child, we can't let Bandit get away with it. And for cases like this of child mistreatment, Bandit's punishment would be a week of confinement in a cell and at the same time a fine of $1,750. So, Bandit would think twice before doing it again. Actually, come to think of it, I think he already learned his lesson, since at the end of the episode, he apologized to Bingo because he didn't realize he was hurting her. But still, we've got our eyes on you, Bandit. Muffin. Contrary to what you're probably imagining, Muffin is one of the characters who committed the fewest offenses in the series. After all, being bossy and grumpy isn't a crime, nor is getting sleep drunk an offense. But still, upon closer inspection of her life, we discovered something that left us quite surprised and at the same time afraid, especially of catching a ride with her. That's because it's clear that Muffin has a serious problem respecting speed limits when she's driving. In other words, we can say that Muffin is a traffic offender and a danger to toy highways, which puts her physical integrity at risk, as well as the integrity of the people in the vehicle with her, in this case, Bluey and Bingo. But honestly, it seems like they're having quite a blast, which doesn't change the fact that Muffin committed an offense and must pay for it. According to Australian law, drivers like Bluey's cousin who drive above the allowed speed limit must pay a fine of $200 and at the same time have their driver's license suspended. If you have one, of course, which isn't the case for Muffin. Quick tip now. If you're a fan of cartoons and animated movies, subscribe to the channel here if you're not already subscribed so you don't miss our upcoming videos, alright? Rita and Janet. Now, we have to do something that honestly breaks my heart. That's because charging the elderly by the letter of the law is something that pains me greatly. Just a moment, they're not elderly! And that's exactly the crime this mini duo of puppies committed. In fact, Rita and Janet are two false identities created by Bluey and Bingo for their own purpose and benefit. Fun. And unfortunately, this is a legal infraction that needs to be looked at through the eyes of the law. After all, it's impossible for us to know all the possible benefits the duo had after using these fake profiles, which could include receiving pensions they're not entitled to or even getting access to free passes and tickets on public transport and events. The name of this offense committed by the two sisters is identity theft and can cause significant problems for its practitioners, such as having to pay a ridiculously high fine of $2,000. Although it seems like their biggest crime was a failed attempt to steal 3 cans of beans and a failed escape by slipping on one of those same cans of beans. Wendy. Just like Judo also made mistakes, we can't overlook that his mother, Wendy, also has her life somewhat compromised by the law. That's because even though she appears to be just a lady taking care of her garden occasionally, we notice that she's always present in the most unusual moments, which would be quite a coincidence, don't you think? So, the healers would have all the arguments to accuse Wendy of invasion of privacy, especially when she witnesses Bandit cleaning the window of his house in a completely unusual way. If proven, Wendy could end up receiving a restraining order from her neighbors, in addition to having to pay a fine of up to $1,000 for repairs and moral damages. But of course, none of this was intentional, and poor Wendy was always in the wrong place at the wrong time. In fact, it seems that living next to the healers is a constant risk for any of their neighbors. But honestly, if I were a judge, I'd let anyone on this list go in peace, because they've already paid their fines by making me laugh a lot. We're leaving 2 really cool videos for you to check out and keep having fun with us. See you in the next video. Hugs!